Hello, ơi, Bharat không?
네,
No. 예, thưa quý vị,
Where's my ID?
Good evening, sir. Good evening, all. Am I audible?
Yes.
Yes, you are audible.
Yes, ma'am, you're audible.
Thank you. So we are happy to have you for this FDP session. We'll just wait for another few minutes for the participants to join. We have posted a message in the WhatsApp too, so the entire session is going to YouTube live too. So, on behalf of Department of Language, Culture and Society, College of Engineering and Technology, SRM Institute of Science and Technology, in collaboration with Department of Linguistics, Tetso College, Dimapur, Nagaland. Jointly, we are organizing a 6-day online faculty development program on narratives of change, reimagining English language and literature as a mirror of cultural and intellectual transformation, NEP 2020 and Viksit Bharat 2047. Today we are in the 6th session, and we have with us a professor from Jawaharlal Nehru University who would be sharing his insights on the topic migration history and identity formation in the Himalayas. Now I invite Dr. Yansubeni to introduce the speaker of the day.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, our dear speaker and all the participants present here. So, it gives me an immense pleasure to introduce Professor Baotong Hokip. He is a distinguished linguist and a professor at the Center of Linguistics, JNU, New Delhi. So he holds a PhD in linguistics from NEHU, specializing in the phonology, morphology, and social linguistics of Thadu Kuki and other Kuki-Chin languages. With over 2 decades of academic experience across JNU, Nagaland University, as well as Assam University, he has made significant contributions to documentation and preserving endangered languages of Northeast India. He is an author to major works such as Texts of the Languages of the Barak Valley, Social Linguistic Situations in the Northeast India, and Tatokoki Word Book. And he has also published widely in leading journals. So his research has been supported by UGC, CIIL, the Firebird Foundation, and the Endangered Language Fund. So Professor Hakib has also delivered numerous invited lectures, has also served on national committees, supervised several research scholars, and contributed to curriculum development as well. So his digital documentation projects are archived in CORSAL and the Language Archive, ensuring long-term access to his work on endangered languages. Sir, today we are very grateful to have you here with us. He will be delivering a talk on migration history and identity formation in the Himalayas. So, sir, the platform is yours now.
Okay, thank you so much, the organizer, for those kind words. let me at first let me try to arrange my slide. I'll be able to do that. Okay, I guess I'm in a position to do that. Let me share first. Is it visible?
Yes,
Is
sir.
my screen visible?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir,
It's
it
visible.
is.
Okay, I have. Oh, then how do I? Because I use only Google Meets. Okay, it seems it's going well. Okay. So once again, good evening to everyone, and also the organizer, Dr. Muli, and also your co-organizer, Ramya, for those kind words. Indeed, I am humbled to be one of the speakers for your great series of talks that you have arranged in collaboration between the two institutes. So today my talk will center around a very common notion. I hope there are students from South India and also from Northeast India, I guess. So I would like to address one of the most common theme that we often face in the Himalayas, especially also in Southeast Asia and South Asia. That is about identity. So we talk about a lot about identity. I'm so and so, you are so and so, and all our narratives. Our narratives are centered around this notion of who am I, who are you, and this identity is a very hot topic that we all uh, dwell every day. So my talk will center around how the Tibeto-Burman languages. So languages, when I say languages, we all speak the same language. We all speak different languages, and based on the languages we speak, then we also have our own language name. And this language name is often equated with tribal names, especially if you are in Northeast and in the Himalayas. We talk about the notion of tribes. And this notion of tribes, though exactly not the same with language, has some relationship. And beyond languages, we also have what is called, which is loosely used in social science parlance as ethnicity or ethnic identity. So ethnicity and ethnic identity is different from linguistic identity. In the sense that ethnic identity, the people who belong to the same ethnic identity may not speak one and the same language, or they may speak different languages, but share certain common interests. So I will be dwelling about the notion of identity. And to do this, I approach identity at two perspectives. And then I will go into Tibeto-Burman hypothesis, because my area is on Tibeto-Burman languages, and most of the languages spoken in the Himalayas, except the Indo-Aryan, Bengali, Assamese, Nepali, and so forth, they are Indo-Aryan. The rest, except in Northeast Khasi, which is a Austroasiatic language, the majority of the languages of the Himalayas belong to what we call Tibeto-Burman. And Tibeto-Burman is a language family which is second to what we call Indo-European. So Indo-European is the largest language family, and next comes the Tibeto-Burman languages. So I'm not going to discuss the linguistic feature of Tibeto-Burman, but I'm going to discuss, as I have already said, how people who speak different Tibeto-Burman tongues or languages have divided themselves into different identity, and what, as an academician, how do we understand when people say I belong to so and so, and when people talk about identity at large, how do we as an academician understand it? So academic understanding and linguistic understanding of identity might not be the same as common man understanding or political narratives or rhetorics that people often talk about identity. So let's move on to the next slide. 1 second, there is some issue with my slide. Okay, it's disappearing. Okay, thank you. It's disappearing. So as I said, I have divided my talk into two. One is linguistic identity, linguistic, or sometimes we also call genetic. Genetic means we come from the same gene. Gene means blood descent, or in other words, is a linguistic identity, which means that people who belong to the same genetic or linguistic identity, they all came from the same ancestry, same forefathers. In linguistic, the terminology that we often use is called proto-language. But the other one is constructed identity. So in addition to linguistic identity or genetic identity, we have what is called constructed identity. That is, people over time, we started creating some nomenclature, and this nomenclature is what I refer to it as constructed. So constructed identity can be something like based on shared past. So if you have lived in under the same region for a very long time, you have slide, we talk about Northeast identity. So this is a shared identity. This is a constructed identity. Or if you belong to certain religious group, this also is constructed identity. Or if you are professing, or if you are inclined toward one's political nomenclature, then that is what I call constructed identity. So towards the end of my talk, I will conclude that this constructed identity, as opposed to linguistic identity, is what people on the ground, people in Northeast India and also in many uh, parts of or beyond Northeast India follow when we talk about identity. So the tribal people of Northeast India, once again, let me arrange this slide because it is blocking my, so sorry, it's blocking my screen. I'm not very good at handling this. Let me try to narrow the, once again, I hope, okay, I hope I will be able to. Okay, I'll put it toward this. Okay, now it is fine. Yeah, now it is perfectly fine, sorry. So the tribal people of Northeast India do not necessarily come together merely on the basis of shared languages. I told you, when people from outside world talk about identity, we tend to think that, oh, if certain people claim themselves as one people, that means they might have the same language or the same culture. But this is never true in the case of Northeast India. So people calling themselves under one identity will end up speaking very different languages on the one hand, and those speaking the same language may call themselves as different people, or they may profess themselves to be a different identity. This I have, if you want to go in detail, I have discussed this in HOKIP 2018, 2024. Perhaps I have not given the year. So this talk tries to show that identity formation in Northeast India is not so much about what you speak. So our identity in Northeast India is not so much about what language we speak or what culture do we follow, but it is more oriented or more inclined toward social and political interests. Second. Okay. Now, let me also take you. I lost my screen again. How is it? How is it? 1 second. There's a problem. Okay. कहाँ गया है? So sorry. I lost my slide. Hold on.
Sir, if you
Yes.
are having problem, you can send it to me. I will share
No.
your screen.
No, my face, I want to show my face at the same time while I'm speaking, but that is not open. Okay, so I'm not visible, but my slide is visible. So let it be like this. Okay, let me not
Okay,
be.
sir.
So there is we often talk about, I talk about here, my slide doesn't show. 1 second. layout. Something is terribly okay. Methodological hypothesis. So we all believe that there is a common story. I've been interacting and collecting some information from different tribes in Northeast India, but I'm not able to do it for Arunachal Pradesh. So from every tribe that you collect, we have origin stories which trace our our origin to a cave or a stone. This is a mythological hypothesis, which I term it as mythological hypothesis. So these mythological hypotheses that we came from a cave or a stone, and some people link in this cave or stone hypothesis somewhere in China or points to the Great War of China. So some of the names of stones or the origin of people from Northeast India is as follows. So all these names refers to stone or cave. So in Aimol, it is Kur. So if you look at Aimol, Anar, Chiru, Chothe, Mar, Lusay, Lakher, or if you look up to here, up to Chothe, it is Kur, Kurpui, okay, and this refers to cave. And the first up to Chothe, they refer to cave. And then in Mar and Sinlung, this refers to stone. And in Mara, I think it also refers to stone. And in my language, which is Thadakuki, it also refers to Kur. Then in Lamgang, also Kur. And then Keza Naga has a different name. It is not Kur anymore. It is something like Metrore. Metrore. And then in Uipo or Koipu, it is Surung. This refers to stone. And in Tangkul, it is Murung Pi. In Tarau, it is to clay kur. There is kur here in Tarau. And in Rome, Tauble refers to stone. And in the Dimasa also, we have two terms. One is hakor, which means land cave, and the other term is longkor, which means hole. So most of the tribes in Northeast India, if you have the time to interact and ask people, there is a concept that we somehow, in the past, we all come from a cave or a stone. And if you ask them where this stone was located or is located, then they will somewhere point towards China or Great War. So this is a mythological hypothesis. So parallel to the mythological perspective, now I will enter into Tibeto-Burman hypothesis. So in the beginning of my talk, I said that most of the languages, most of the people who live in the Himalayas, except the Bengalis, Assamese, and then the Nepali, Khasi, the rest of the languages fall under the Tibeto-Burman language family. So majority of us fall under the Tibeto-Burman language family. So the TB hypothesis includes a number of Asian linguistic groupings, notably among them, those including the Chinese, Tibetan, and Burmese. So among the Tibeto-Burman languages, the largest languages are Chinese, Tibetan, and Burmese. These are the largest language families, languages within the Tibeto-Burman. And the rest of us are lower level or smaller languages, meaning that at one point of time, we all the people who speak the TB languages, we all descended from a proto-language called Tibeto-Burman family. So all the languages within the Tibeto-Burman family are once upon a time, once upon a time, the forefathers spoke a language which we linguists call it Proto-Tibeto-Burman, but the languages we speak today are no longer the Proto-Tibeto-Burman, but the languages we all speak are the daughter languages. Okay. So the linguistic diversity of the family suggests that its time depth is comparable to that of the Indo-European, or about 6,000 years ago. So according to Matisov, the origin of Proto-Tibeto-Burman, or the forefathers, or our forefathers who spoke the Proto-Tibeto-Burman language, or the forefather language, the time depth may be equivalent to about 6,000 years. And the homeland, the ancestral homeland of Proto-Tibeto Tibeto-Burman. So we sometimes call it Tibeto-Burman. Some people call it Sino-Tibeto-Burman, Sino-Tibetan. So both Sino-Tibetan and Tibeto-Burman are the same name for the same group of people. So the ancestral homeland of this Proto-Tibeto-Burman or Proto-Sino-Tibetan has been placed somewhere in the Himalayas. So somewhere in the Himalayas, that is according to Matisol, some like Vamdrim trace it to Sichuan province in southwest China. So according to George Vamdrim, the origin of Proto-Tibeto-Burman lies in Sichuan province in southwest China. Then the Yellow River basin of North China, so it's according to Thargu. So there is a big river on the map of China. There is a Yellow River basin. This Yellow River basin is very significant because this is a valley. So around this, all these agricultural practices and rice was invented for the first time. And it is believed that it was in the Yellow Basin that the people started to migrate southerly towards Nepal, Bhutan, Northeast India, Burma, and so forth. That I will come later on. And this is according to Thurgut and Sagar and central China between Yellow Basin and Yangtze River and Belwood. So according to Belwood's, Thurgut and Sagar, also Wandrim, they all point somewhere between China and Tibet to be the origin of the Proto-Tibeto-Burman family. So now the question is, after this, after having stayed there in the Yellow River Basin, there was a population expansion, and people gradually and slowly started moving southwards toward Nepal, Bhutan, Northeast India, Myanmar, and to other parts of the subcontinent. So what could be the reason why these people, the forefathers or the Proto-Tibeto-Burman languages, move outside of that the Yellow Basin or somewhere in China? Number one is that there was population explosion and people have to move out in search of food for their cattle and also in search of livelihood for the much growing population of the time. The other reason, which is not well established, but which many believe could be the reason for the dispersion of Tibeto-Burman languages, is the rich biodiversity of plants, wild vegetables, and animals. So in the entire Himalayas, that is in the northeast, also Nepal, and then Bhutan, and also towards Myanmar, these landmass was very rich in biodiversity, meaning that in these regions we have various species of plants and animals. So wherever there is a wide diversity of species and plants, that area is a diverse zone for animals because there is a food chain. So animal has to feed on plants. And when there is abundance of plants and animals, that is the best place for people to migrate in and then start a new livelihood. And that is one of the hypotheses that why we have inhabited the land of Northeast India and beyond could be due to the rich biodiversity which attracted our forefathers to come to this zone. So now let me, 1 second. Okay. Let me look at some of the languages within the Tibeto-Burman family. Somewhere my slide has a problem. Let me try to, what is that? And then fix it again. Okay, there's a problem. It's distracting my talk a lot. Okay. Now it is better. Yeah. Okay, this is more view. I'm not able to. Still some. I could have. Anyway. So leave it like. So Chinese is the language's largest language of all the Tibeto-Burman languages. Then in the Eastern Himalayas, we have over more than 100 Tibeto-Burman languages. Some say it is 250, 300. I just kept it as 100 because the distinction between language and dialect is not very clear. So I just kept it as 100. Some estimates suggest that there are more than 250 languages. So let this be the rough number figure which I've given. So overall, there are more than 100 languages spoken in Northeast India. And this I'm referring to Tibeto-Burman languages. Overall, there could be, or there are more than 100 Tibeto-Burman languages spoken in Northeast India. Then also on the Western Himalayas, in the Western Himalayas, we have a number of languages such as Nevari. These are also all Tibeto-Burman languages. Nevari, Kiranti, Dzongkha, Lepcha, and Tibetan. Then in southwestern China province of Sichuan, we have Tibeto-Burman languages like Kwangik, Ranglongik, and so forth. Then in Burma, we have more number of languages. Burmese is the largest of all the Tibeto-Burman languages, and a number of minority languages. The bigger names are Karen, Karen, and Jingpo. And also many languages spoken by the Naga tribes are also spoken there, and many Kukichin languages are also spoken in Myanmar or Burma. Then many minority languages of Southwest China and Northern Thailand. So even in Northern Thailand, we have Tibeto-Burman languages, and these include Yi. Yi is spoken in China, also in Thailand, so they have crisscross territories. Then Lahu also spoken in China, Akha is somewhere in China, and Dulung and Bai perhaps both in China and Thailand. So this is the geographical, this is the dispersion map of the Tibeto-Burman languages. So this based on the animals. If you look at the figure closely, you find horses, you find some mithun. So these are the oldest animals, and also you find some plants like millets. And these are millets. We call it maize in Northeast India. So these are believed to be one of the most ancient animals that were raised by the proto. When I say proto, mean the forefathers of Tibeto-Burman family. So these were the oldest animals that the Proto-Tibeto-Burman languages have reared. Somewhere when they were in this is Yellow Basin, the Yellow Basin, somewhere this is somewhere in Tibet. So when they were somewhere in China, and then these were the animals that they have raised. So based on animal names and also on maize and other things, Sagat and Itals, they believe that we move. The direction of the movement is from where in China, and there we move. So if you look at the map, you look at, and this is where Northeast India is there. All the languages somewhere in the periphery. So it's spread up to Kashmir. If you look at the map, number 8 is Kashmir, and so it keeps on. So there's a vast area, and also in the extreme downside, you see Peninsula 47 and 10. So it is spread across a vast geographical area in isolation. So somewhere in the towards your right of your map, these are a few isolated Tibeto-Burman languages. The heaviest concentration is where we call Southeast Asia, or what I call it as the Himalayan range. So the Himalayan range is the heaviest concentration of the Tibeto-Burman. So from here we moved from Tibet. There was a western southerly movement, and we all come here. Firstly, some of us reach, like the Bodo-Garo languages, reach Brahmaputra, and they stayed back in the Brahmaputra basin, and beyond that, they do not move further. The Nagas and the Burmese and the Kukichin move towards what you call Parkai range, which we call the Naga Hills, and down further to Myanmar, and as a result, we have lots of Naga tribes in Myanmar, and also we have Kukichin tribes in Myanmar, and this was the territory, the ancient territory of most of these tribes before partition of India and Myanmar into two separate sovereign states. So this is the map. So now we move on to And other animals that were raised by the Proto-Tibeto-Burman language, you can find on the right side, we have something like pig. Pig is also considered to be one of the oldest animal that the Proto-Tibeto-Burman raised. A horse is there, then perhaps we have raised sheep, yak, or we call, and then mithun. This looks like a mithun. Okay. Now let me come to another version of this one, Sino-Tibetan or Tibeto-Burman language family. According to Benedict, Benedict is an older classification, but where the earlier map that I showed you is a recent classification, a very recent one. According to Benedict in 1972, he believes Kachin. Kachin is in Myanmar. He believed that the Tibeto-Burman languages originated from Kachin. But earlier slide shows that it originates somewhere. Now the hypothesis is not, this hypothesis is no longer accepted by many linguists. So many linguists believe that it is in Tibet, somewhere in Tibet, or Yellow Basin. That is the area that most linguists have accepted to be the origin of the Proto-Tibeto-Burman languages. Now, his is a contradiction because his classification was done in 1972. He believes, nevertheless, he believes that Kachin was the epicenter where the Tibeto-Burman languages diverge. Diverge means they spread out. So here, the Proto-Tibeto-Burman language was spoken, our original language. From there, we move on to somewhere to the western side, Lepcha, Bahing, Wayu, Nevara. These are bigger languages. So Abo, Miri, Dafla, what we call today Tani languages. Today, these are older names. Today, we call them Tani languages. We have the Bodo Garo. Konyak is one of the Naga languages or Naga tribes. And then we have towards here Kuki, Naga, and then Mikir. Mikir is what we call today Karbis. And then we have the Meiteis and the Ru. Ru is spoken in Myanmar. It's a Kukichin language. So this is how he divided. So many linguists have different explanation depending on the time in which they have the material and the hypothesis. But to my mind, this classification is a more outdated version than the earlier ones. Okay. Now let us move on with the migration. So the Tibeto-Burman migration to the Indian subcontinent started around 1000 BC. So our migration towards Northeast India and the Himalayas, Eastern Himalayas, is traced back between like around 1000 BC. 1000 BC is a very long time. So we are very old in that sense. So the Tibeto-Burman speakers of the subcontinents are found in Nepal. So Nepal we have, so though Nepali is an Indo-Aryan language, the rest of the languages mostly spoken around, in and around Nepal, those are Tibeto-Burman languages. Then most of the language in Northeast India, except Khasi, and then we have Nepali, then Assamese and Bengali. The rest are Tibeto-Burman languages. One thing that we should also note here is that Tibeto-Burman languages are spoken by a very few populations. The languages are numerous, but the speakers are very few. Some are less than 2,000, 1,000. Some are around, say, 10,000 plus. Some are around 1 lakh. So the number varies. So I'm not going into the details of and the number of the population size of each of the languages. So as I already stated, the origin of Proto, when I say Proto, means forefather Tibeto-Burman. Okay? The forefather of the Tibeto-Burman languages, we call it Proto-Tibeto-Burman, is said to be in Tibet or the Yellow Basin in China. This is according to Lapola in 2001. So according to Lapola, he provides two lines of migration. One is west into Tibet. Firstly, from Yellow Basin, they move down westward, and then enter into Tibet. And from Tibet, they move down to Nepal, Bhutan, and Northeast India. And the other one is southwest down the river valley along the eastern edge of the Tibeto-Burman plateau through what has been now called the ethnic corridor. So these are the two lines that Lapola 2001 provides. So Lapola believes that Tibet, and also because the Yellow River Basin also flows inside Tibet. So this is the area where the Tibeto or the forefather or the Proto-Tibeto-Burman language was once spoken before it became or it diverges or before the daughter languages were born, so to speak. Okay. Then a more refined and a more robust study by Sagat and others points out that they use what is called comparative. So using comparative data and applying linguistic comparative method. So Sagat and Etel. So Sagat and Etel is the most recent one. They point to the origin of Tibeto-Burman somewhere towards the North Chinese millet farmers. So according to Sagat and Etel, they believe that the Proto-Tibeto-Burman speakers, they live somewhere in North China, and basically they were millet farmers, maize farmers, and suggests a link with the late Chisan and the Yangzhou culture. So these millet cultivation was as well as the Yangzhou culture, and those historians who knows about the history of China will remember that Yangzhou and Chichen were very old dynasty, meaning that the Tibeto-Burman language is the origin or the Proto-Tibeto-Burman language was as ancient as these two civilizations. Now, let me further point out what other scholars have done. So using evidence from linguistic. So when we trace about identity, who were our forefathers? Where did they come from, or what did they eat, and what animals do they rear for their survivors? So we need a conglomeration of what you call fields. So linguistics. So using evidence from linguistics, also archaeologists and genetics. So Zach and Stevens points to the southern dispersal being driven by endemic diffusion, agricultural and demographic transition that drove population outward from agricultural center of origin. So likewise, like the earlier classification by Sagat and also by Lapola, Zeg and Stephen also believe, or they confirm rather, to the southern. So from China they move southward, the southern dispersion of this population. And this population, how did these populations diverge is through agriculture. So when we talk about migration, one thing we must be very careful is that this migration is not en masse. People do not migrate in number. They don't migrate in terms of thousands and lakhs. They migrate gradually, slowly by the year. So how did they migrate is that through agriculture. So when one agricultural land is over, they move to another agricultural over, and it keeps on moving. And this takes thousands and thousands of years. As opposed to, so when we say migration today, we have the tendency to think that migration means, oh, huge number of people move. Not like that. It is a slow, gradual movement. And the migration, the push factor, or the main reason is through agriculture. So earlier, before what do you call this, industries were established, and the only source of livelihood was agriculture. And in order to practice agriculture for the people and for the population and also for the animals, they need land. So they gradually they cultivate one land, move from one land to another, is another thing that I would like to stress. So they hypothesize a period of endemic diffusion beginning. So according to Zach and Stevenson, is the diffusion of these Proto-Tibeto-Burman languages traced back between 2500 to 2000 BC, from southerly plateau through eastern Tibet. So Tibet, so whether they come from China but move into Tibet. So this China to Tibet is the route that we often refers to as southerly movement. And then below Tibet, we have the Himalayan foothills. When we say Himalayan foothills, again, is divided into Western Himalaya that I talk about. Eastern Himalaya refers to Northeast India. And then They conclude two routes. So according to Zeg and Stevens, there are two routes that the Tibeto-Burman or the forefathers of the Tibeto-Burman took in order to come and live or to occupy the land that we now live, Northeast India, Burma, Nepal, and so on. So there are two routes. The first route is the Sichuan Tibet Kashmir. So first they moved to from Tibet, they moved to from Sichuan, Tibet, and Kashmir. This is one route they have taken. The other route they have taken is in Yunnan in China and then to Assam. These are the two routes that they have taken. Okay, now let us move on. Okay, this is the already in the map that I've already shown you. This is somewhere in the Tibet, assuming that the red portion is somewhere the red oval. So the late Sichuan and the early Yangtze culture. So this is where somewhere in Tibet, this Sichuan and Yangtze civilization was first. From here, we move westward, and then from westward we move southerly, and the rest of the land or the map that you see is all eastern Himalayas, Tibet, and then eastern Himalayas, and further down to Myanmar, and further down to Thailand, and so forth. Okay. So some of the TB languages, so when we talk about namely Bodo-Garo languages, which migrated from Tibet following the southwest direction, resided along the Brahmaputra River basin. As I told you, the Bodo-Garos is one of the descendants of the Proto-Tibeto-Burman. So they also follow this migration, and somewhere they resided along the Brahmaputra River. So today we talk about Bodo-Garos. When we say Bodo-Garo, they include Bodo, and they have other Tiva and many other Tibeto-Burman languages that are spoken in Assam, in Brahmaputra River basin. They also took the same line from Tibet to following the southward movement. But once they reach Brahmaputra River, they stayed back. That is why the Bodo-Garos are said to be one of the ancient settlers of Assam. While others move further down to Chittagong Hill Trek, other people move towards Chittagong Hill Treks. In Chittagong Hill Treks, you'll find lots of Tibeto-Burman languages, mainly some Kukichin languages, Lai, even Lusai, and Mara, Rengmang Tika, and many languages are spoken in the Chittagong Hill Trek. And Chittagong Hill Trek share borders with Myanmar. In Myanmar, we have a lot of Myanmar. And Myanmar also share borders with Northeast India. So all the states of Northeast India, the Nagaland, starting from the extreme north, Arunachal Pradesh, Nagaland, Manipur, Mizoram, they share a long international border with Myanmar. And Myanmar and India was never demarcated. So this was a land of the people who resided there. It was only after the Treaty of Zendabao that the British gave away the part of the land to Burma, and that's how the people who once lived together under this roof find themselves today demarcated by international line. And if you are a follower of some news and all, you find how people in Nagaland also opposed to this what they call fencing of India and Myanmar border, because once a fencing is in place, then the people who were one people of the time, they will be separated. Similarly, we have all these kind of news and tensions going on across Nagaland, Manipur, and Mizoram as well. So this region, that is the Indo-Myanmar borderland, is ancestral home of what may be variously classified as Kukichin and Naga. So many of the Kukichin and Naga languages, now they live in this area until the British divided them into two separate sovereign states, India and Myanmar, following the Treaty of Zendabao, and India's independence, which completed the divides. Okay, that is something that I would like to tell. Now let us move on to internal language relationships. So Proto-Tibeto-Burman gave birth to many daughter languages. And these daughter languages are also, so from Proto-Tibeto-Burman, we have subgroups. The subgroups are like Bodo Garo in Northeast India. Bodo Garo is there, Kukichin is there, perhaps Naga, and we may use the term Naga, but within Naga, we have Jingpao Konya branch, and then the Ao group, and then the Angami group, and so forth. So basically, all of the languages spoken, or the people who speak all the languages of most of these hills, they are all descendant of what we call Proto-Tibeto-Burman language. So language change over time, as we know, it changed over time. It's like a tree. There is a big tree, and the big tree gave forth many branches. And one of the branches could be like Konyang, or the other could be Ao, and the other could be Kukichin, the other can be uh, the other can be what do you call other languages which are spoken in the Western Himalayas, like the the most research language is Limbu and many other languages. So it doesn't click into my mind since I am not placed in. So it is like, so the hypothesis is that once we all belong to a one tree, parent tree, and that parent tree bring forth many branches, and the branches we refer to them as daughter languages. Okay. So among the daughter languages also, there is a lot of internal diversity. Some are similar, some are very, very diverse, because it's not about 100 years, it's about millennia, thousands of years, BC, it has taken BC. If you can open up your mind, I told you 1,000 years back, and then I traced the history to 2,500 to 2,000 BC. So such a long gap. Perhaps it could be much, much older than that also. So over these number of years, so the language have shifted differently, and they have moved to different region. As a result, you find lots of diversity among the total languages. Some are similar, some are diverse. Now let me stress only two branches here. One is what I call it as the Kukichin language, and then I will also discuss something about the Naga languages. Okay. So the Proto Kukichin diverge into many daughter languages, some still mutually intelligible. So the Kukichin languages, unlike other branches, the Kukichin branch of Tibeto-Burman family, they have a lot of lexical similarity. This lexical similarity is very high among the Kukichin languages. Some are mutually intelligible. If you go to Manipur, southern Manipur, you'll find most of the languages are mutually intelligible. And those who are spoken in Myanmar also, still they share a lot of lexical similarity, as well as morphosyntactic features. So I don't think many of you are linguists. You will not understand what is morphosyntactic similarity. That means grammatically they share a lot of common in the Kukichin languages. But if you look into the Naga languages are very, very distinct. So one language is very distinct from the other, and also one tribe speaks many languages. For example, when we talk in social parlance, we talk about Konya. So Konya has many speech forms, many varieties, and many of these varieties are not mutually intelligible. Or if you talk about Ao is one tribe. Within Ao also we have 2-3 branches again, 2-3 branches again. And within Angami also we have 5 dialects, Kohima dialect, Konoma dialect, and so many dialects. So you find a lot of diversity among the Naga languages. The explanation why Naga languages are so diverse from from Kukichin languages is that they live in the hills. And the hills means now the present hills across Indo-Myanmar region, Nagaland and beyond Burma. They live in the hills. And each village was formed by one clan. One clan live in one village, another clan live in another village, and one clan speak one language, another clan speak another variety, if not language, because language and dialect is a fuzzy matter. I don't want to enter into that debate. And they hardly meet. In the past, people don't meet. It is not like today we meet everybody and on daily basis. People don't meet because one village is a whole in itself. You don't get mixed up with another village. So much so that if I quote what you call Alekub also further quoted from other books. So much so that the only time the Nagas used to meet each other is during wartime. During wartime, they fight among themselves, and that is the time they meet. Other time they don't meet because every village was sufficient unto itself. So the past history is something like that. Not only the Nagas fought among themselves, all the tribes fought among themselves. For example, we talk about Kukichin languages. They also fought among themselves. There was fighting among themselves. So the war of the yor means of the old. The old world was like fighting for protection of your territory, because your territory is where your client men live, your client people live. That means your one family live, and family is everything of the in the past. And there was no concept of like, in today we talk about big umbrella term like, we are Nagas, we are this. That bigger nomenclature was not needed. And the only the only thing the people of the time need was to protect their family, and their family resided in a particular village, and that's how people in the past lives. Okay. Similarly, if you go to Manipur also, Okrul, if you go to Okrul, then the Tangkul, we say there is a tribe called Tangkul. Within Tangkul, one village is very different from another village, and so on. So the languages are not one language. In fact, they don't. The varieties are so different that they don't understand each other. So to put it mildly, okay, let's put it mildly that way. Then having what do you call discuss how the Proto-Tibeto-Burman language was once spoken in somewhere in the Sichuan or the Yellow Basin, and how it moved down southerly and occupy the land or the area that we live today. Now, I would like to discuss something about the making of identity. As I told you in the past, you do not need a very big identity like Indians, or we say we are Indians, Bharat, or sometimes if you are in Delhi or somewhere, you say we are Northeast people. So such big, no, what do you call, identities were not required. But as gradually, as people become more and more civilized, or so to speak, or as they near modernity. So the best way to put it is, as we near more modernity, then the notion of common identity came into being, which was earlier not there. Earlier, as I told you, it was a village identity, clan's identity, and that's all. But over time, at least in the 19, perhaps in the 19 and then early or late, early 20th century, mostly in the late 18th and 19th century, the notion of identity, the common identity, bigger identity came into being. So now to explain how identity came about, I will take the case of Naga identity. So before World War One, there was no concept of pan-Naga identity. The term Naga was given by the colonial writers. Sometimes it has a negative connotation that I don't want to enter into that. So before World War One, so each of the Naga tribes, then we talk about Angami, Autotel, Lotha, and or any other group, Kemungan, and so forth. They live in their own world. There was no Pan Naga, no what do you call identity. It was only after First World War. So the story which I've taken from Wittstein 2021 is that during the First World War, the Nagas were taken. So around 2,000 Nagas were recruited by the British force as labor force to build a road in France. So many Nagas were taken there, and then they faced a lot of subjugation there during the First World War. And the people, the people who returned back, yeah.
Yes, yes, yes. There's no more. I'm going to eat.
Yeah, okay, that's understandable. So the people who returned back from after the Second World War, they brought about what they call common consciousness, and the consciousness is that uh, unless they are united as one people, unless they are united as one people, unlike the traditional Nagas, because the traditional Naga tribe are fighting one another. So unless we come together as one united people, then we will not have a chance to withstand the newly formed India and Burma. So when British left after the Second World War, First World War, then the Second World War came, then British were about to leave India. So at that point of time, those forefathers who were taken as workforce to France, they realized that we have to throw away our differences, in other words, to put it plainly, and we have to come together. If you don't come together, then newly formed nation. So Burma, before there was no Burma and India. So now Burma became another separate independent state, and India became another separate. So in order to withstand this, we must come together, and that's how the Naga identity, larger Naga identity, came about, and then today also Nagas keeps on. But and then more people keeps on adding into this identity. If you are from Manipur, you know many of the people whom colonial ruler called themselves old cookies. I don't name them. Many of them now they call themselves as Nagas. So many of the like Anal and Lamgang and many other languages. They said they joined the Naga. So what I'm trying to focus here is that the people who speak these diverse languages, Naga languages speak diverse languages. They came about and form a larger identity which is called Naga, in order to push forward their political goal against, or so to be, or to become a free people, to be united as one people, and to withstand or to deter the India, the newly formed Indian and Burman nation state. But if you look towards other groups like the Kuki Chin group, they are also very numerous. There are near about more than 50 languages, so to speak, no varieties. There are more than 50 varieties of Kuki Chin languages spoken in Myanmar and also in Manipur, in Northeast India and Chittagong Hill Tract. But unlike the Nagas, they do not have that same political, what do you call, political call to unify. There was no unifying force. At least in the case of the Naga, there was a political unifying force, and that they should come together in order to be free from India and Burma. But in the case of the Kuki Chin group, there was no such a political, what you call, factor with which they can come together. So they lack a common political aspiration. That is, to put it plainly. But if you look carefully between these two groups, these are two branches of the. I'm comparing only two branches of the Tibeto-Burman family. The Kuki-Chin languages are very similar, and many people can understand each other languages. It's not a problem to understand each other language. But when it comes to identity, they will profess themselves into multiple identities. So within Kuki-Chin, this is a linguistic name that I've used, which Grayson has used. But locally, they form themselves into many identities. And these identities are isolated. They don't have any common goal to come together. In the case of the Nagas, despite speaking very different languages, they come together under one identity. And that is what I would like to stress. Perhaps now I have come to the end of my talks. How do I conclude? So what I'm trying to say from my talk is that, contrary to what linguists believe that we come from the same ancestor, which we call Proto-Sino-Tibetan or Proto-Tibeto-Burman languages, what we see on the ground, what the identity formation on the ground is very different. So ideally would be people whose languages are very close, they should come together. Or people whose cultures are very similar, they should unite as one people under one identity. And those who don't speak the same language or similar language, they may not be part of that identity. But what we find in Northeast India is the contrary of that. So contrary to linguistic similarity or homogeneity, if you wish, or if you will, identity formation in Northeast India is the opposite. Rather, it is based on common political interests, social interests or political interests. And these have been pointed out in two of my papers, HOKIP 2018 and 2024, if you wish to read that. So this goes contrary to what many people, what linguists think, and also other people, common people will think. So when common people talk about this identity, they don't know the internal differences and similarities. They don't know this. So when people from the outside talk about Naga identity, they have the tendency to be, all the Nagas are one people. That means they have the same language, they have the same culture, they are one people. So people talk it like that. But as an informed academician or as an informed scholar or linguist, we know that, this within this so-called Naga, this is how they are made up of. And within the Kukichin, this is how they are made up. Within the Bodo Garo, this is how they are made up. So we know that the internal layers, or so to say, nuances of identity formation. So identity sometimes is used loosely in the common parlance. If you listen to political talks or other newspapers, people use identity very, very loosely. There's nothing wrong about that. I'm saying that I'm not, but as a informed, as an intellectual, or as informed people, we should also know what are the nitty-gritty, what are the commonness and the similarities, and also what are the other social or political, or if you will, X factor which brought them together or which bring them together. So my conclusion is that for the people to come and form one identity, the X factors such as politics, social, economic, or whatever, protection, security are more important than their common ancestry like language, culture, etc. I hope I make some sense here. So with this few lines of thought, I may have to conclude my talk. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Professor Bautang Haokip, for the meaningful talk on migration, history, and identity. Your talk, in fact, has clearly highlighted how movement, cultural exchange, and historical forces shape the identities of diverse Himalayan communities. On behalf of the organizers, we sincerely thank you for your time, your expertise, and for that wonderful talk that you have given us today. Now, the floor is open for questions. So participants, if you have any questions, you can either leave it in the chat box or you can ask questions.
Professor Hakup, can you please stop sharing your screen so that we can take a screenshot? No problem, sir. I just want to take a picture. That's why.
Okay, I got it.
I request the participants to kindly turn on your camera for a screenshot.
Okay. I close it. Anyone is free to ask question. It's a discussion.
Yes, the floor is open.
There's nothing special that I have spoken. It's something that you all might have some idea about that, and it's a discussion. You are free to counter me or whatever, so long as it is within academic,
Yes.
jurisdiction
environment. Yeah. I just want to add with whatever you have deliberated all this while. So this PM's concept of Adivani, if I'm right. Adivani.
Go ahead, go ahead.
Can you hear?
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm hearing.
So, yeah. So that is trying to, it's a kind of digital platform where they're trying to give life to all the tribal languages. So do you have, I'm sure because of that, people can get education through their own tribal language rather than to their own, they can be educated through their own mother tongue. That's what is the idea which I have got when that was launched, I think in August 2025, if I'm right. So that Adivani is about the languages, especially which doesn't have a script or which has not come to limelight till now. So the way when you explain the different languages, the sub languages which are there among the tribal people, among the tribal group from the NER, according to us, it's called as the Seven Sister area. So, to know about those many languages, to even know that these are the listed languages which are there, this was really an eye opener for us. There are many people nowadays who want to do who want to study on endangered languages, who want to study on languages where there's no script. So as I told you, this Adivani is trying to make people learn using their own mother tongue, and at the same time, it is also going to give a digital platform where all the languages are going to be preserved, archived for future resource and for future studies. So this is actually a big plus, which of course is going to pave way for Viksit Bharat 2047, and also bringing in the inclusive environment, which we have to learn from the tribal community. We can innovate in a very sustainable environment by following the principles of sustainability. This we definitely have to learn from the tribal community, and I'm sure this NEP 2020 or Viksit Bharat is actually taking us towards that platform. So,
okay, I got it.
Yes. So I just wanted to add this, Adivani. And on the whole, your presentation, I feel, is trying to, link with our nation's vision also. It's like knowing tribal knowledge helps build Viksit Bharat, because it teaches us how to develop without destroying, innovate without forgetting our roots, and grow without excluding anyone, which means being inclusive, which means being innovative, which means being sustainable. And I'm sure all these concepts can be taken down to the classrooms too, be it a school classroom or a college or a higher education institution, HEIs, where all these can be focused using literature, because especially the language itself is a wonderful resource.
Otherwise, I will miss.
Yes, I'm trying to add on to it. No, okay. I'm just trying to add on. I'm not asking a question.
Are you asking a question, or are you asking me a question, or are you adding?
I'm trying to add on to what you said. Yes, because I want to connect your entire topic with NEP and Viksit Bharat. So I'm trying to add on with that.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. So this is definitely going to be a platform where we know languages, and there are many projects which are thrown for all of us out, open for us, so we can work on the endangered languages, especially the tribal languages. And I'm sure whatever you said now would have been an eye-opener for all the participants who are here listening to you. So yes, sir, that was really an interesting information which you gave related to languages in Northeast India. Thank you for that. And now the floor is open for questions.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Ramaya. Apology for interrupting, because my idea was to answer some of your questions.
No, that's why I started by saying I will add to what you said, because I want to bring in the connect with NEP and 2047.
Anyway, so to address your point in a nutshell, in a nutshell, The idea, of course, it always linked to what you call, whatever you call Bharat, Viksa or whatever.
Viksit Bharat.
Yeah, Viksit Bharat. The idea is that in order to, how do I put it? In order that we scholar understand the world we live in, the present world we live in, we also need to understand our past or the ancestry. And languages don't lie. Other people may lie, but languages don't lie. The feature of languages may not lie. Of course, there are borrowing and other things. Borrowing, we can easily filter them out. But the core of the language will not lie. So to show that many of the hundreds of languages spoken in Northeast India once belonged to a Tibeto-Burman family. They all belong to one forefather language. If you will, you can call it one forefather mother. And we are all descendant of that language. But in today's world, when we talk about our identity, nobody talk about the past, because the past is an unknown territory. Because the past is an infinite unknown territory, which we are trying to give some light into that. And coming back very quickly to your question is that language or languages are the repository of knowledge. So we talk about knowledge. So we all belong to some of us follow history, some follow us social science, sciences, some are mechanical engineering, computer engineering, so on and so forth. But the basis of knowledge means to make more knowledgeable or understandable, or for a man to know his or her existence, is the essence is language. So language embed within itself untold amount of knowledge, and these knowledge are not necessarily in dominant language like English or Spanish or Hindi. Much of the knowledge are also buried under these small languages, which we call endangered languages. They are also buried. And if we can bring forth this knowledge in the curriculum, there will be very, very great tasks. But how we will achieve, how soon we will achieve, is something that I will not like to further intervene. Okay, thank you. Any more questions?
Any questions, Nima? There's a question in the chat box, sir. I'll read it to you. Good evening, sir. What protocols you would recommend to protect? What protocols would you recommend to protect these tribal languages as literature? This is a question from Dr. Seneka.
Okay, protocol. So there is no protocol as such, because many of these languages, what is listed in the Indian Constitution as non-scheduled languages, these are not all the languages. There are many other languages which are not listed under the Constitution of India, under the census of India. So how do we bring about these languages into the teaching curriculum? Yeah, I hope that was your answer. So for that, there is no hard and fast protocol. But in order for a language to be taught in the school, firstly, it should have a written literature. Something has to be written about the language, about the people, about their world in their language, not in English or Hindi. So you cannot promote a tribal languages by writing their culture, but the history, their language in Hindi vernacular. You can't do that, or in English vernacular do that. So for that, we need to write these languages down in their own languages, and also in their keeping in view their own territory and their culture. So these tasks sometimes may not be feasible for the local people to do, because most of these languages are spoken not only by fewer number of population, but they are also spoken by very marginalized group. They don't have the capital to do so. So it is only the educated people like you and me, especially in linguistics, we have a section called, or we have a field called, field linguistics, where is like an activist. We volunteer ourselves as an activist. We go into this rough terrain, rugged terrain, and then started documenting their life, their culture, their language, their society, and their aspiration, and so forth. So we have to uplift them. So there is something called, there is a parallel between minority language or minoritized languages. I don't use minoritized language. I use rather endangered languages and also their economy. If a language is endangered, the language is not endangered voluntarily. It is because of the social pressure, due to lack of infrastructure, due to economic exploitation. The languages are also not developed. So in order to develop their language, first thing we should do is to take care of their social and economic aspect. Along with that, we also have to introduce their language, their knowledge system in their respective languages. I hope I answered your question.
Yes, she is.
Please ask a
Anyone
question.
else?
Time is running out.
Sir, Northeast India is supposed to be is one of the highest linguistic diversities in the world. Northeast India has one of the highest linguistic diversities in the world. So how does this could you share what makes Northeast linguistic landscape so unique when compared to the rest of India?
Okay, and that is a very good question. Why that somewhere that I have already explained that part of my talk was to address was already contained in my address. So why do we see so much diversity in Northeast India? I've already traced you the migration route. I've already talked about the migration route. So what factor, what propel or what attracts, okay, to use a better word, what attracts so many people, so many small group of people to come into Northeast India is a very good question. And this I have already partially addressed in my talk, is because of the biodiversity. The biodiversity is there. So this land, which we call Northeast India, extending towards Myanmar and also its adjoining area, was a very biodiversely rich regions of the world. And in fact, it is ranked as the third biodiversity regions of the world. So there are Papua New Guinea is another where you have huge diversity. And Northeast India, or we call it the Eastern Himalaya or the Himalayas, is third in that rank. The reason is because of the rich biodiversity. So that trace me back, or we have to trace ourselves back to the life in the past. So in the past, thousands and or say before BC or after BC, if you or AD, so human being, wherever human being lived, the main livelihood was dependent or firstly it was foraging. People have to live on wild plants and wild animals before paddy was invented. So before paddy, now with paddy you can store paddy and then you can eat paddy for without doing anything for over a year, and next year you can depend. Those days there were no such what you call dependable means of livelihood, so to speak. So the only food that was available to the people was this biodiversity. We have lots of plants and animals. So plants bring forth fruits in every season, winter, summer, spring, and these kept the people alive. And also there are lots of animals. So those what you call I use the term proto-Tibeto-Burman race, or the alimen, so to speak, in a general term. They also require a lot of animals. What do you call this? Non-veg food we talk about. This for meat, they have to depend on animals. So animals and plants and fruits were abundant, and also the land was also big, and also they need to rear their own cattle. So those factors must have given rise to the diversity of Tibeto, diversity of the languages in Northeast India. And also let me add here, people hardly move to the plain, because in the plain there will be scarcity of food, because those days rice was not yet invented, and the climatic condition may propel some other diseases like malaria and unknown, or cholera and kind of stuff like that. So people prefer to stay in the hills, because in the hills you can get access to food, and also for minimum livelihood for rearing cattle. And even after rice was invented, then people resorted to terrace cultivation, and this movement towards the plain was a later phase. So let me also add here that the Proto-Tibeto-Burman were hill settlers. They are not plain settlers. Our homeland was in the, even though I trace Sichuan and China and Tibet, even there also they were mainly they were what you call hill dwellers, mountain dwellers, and not plain dwellers. It was only in before 2000 years back that rice was invented in the Yellow Basin. When rice was invented in the Yellow Basin, then people began to live a sedentary life. Sedentary life means they don't need to migrate anymore. So in the past, you migrate. Depending on the season, you keep on migrating in search of food. But after the invention of rice, then in Yellow Basin, they brought about sedentary lifestyle. And once the sedentary lifestyle was invented, then we have civilization. But in the past, people have to move to the hills for survival. I guess I explained. I explained your
Yes,
question.
sir, you did.
Yeah.
Yes, sir, you did. Thank you. There's one comment which is there in the chat box, right? They're trying to relate with how you started related to Northeast identity. So one participant by name Vidya, she has written, "Good evening, sir. The language of the Aboriginals just reminded of Patrick White, an Australian writer who spoke about the search of identity." So there is a connect in literature, right? We talk about Northeast literature, and we have an Australian writer who again talks about the identity when it comes to language of the Aboriginals.
Okay. See, one thing that I always talk about is identity. So if you talk about identity, so identity at the micro level, so it will be based on your language. So if you speak this language, you will put X. If you speak another language, you put Z, X, Y, Z, and so on. So language was the only identity, but the identity that I talk here in my talk was a larger identity which has nothing to do with language. So people realize that no, staying isolated as one people who speak one language, we may be faced with we may be threat from other quarters. So what threat was everywhere. Life is much peaceful now. In the past, life in the hills, life was full of wars, war. So people were always at threat from the neighboring group. So in order to survive, so this today's identity that we brought about, to put it simply in a simple terminology, is for survival, for security. So people need security, and also not only security, but also with the development of new nation state, people have the aspiration to become a free people. They wanted to get a separate land of their own, like separate country of their own, or separate state of their own. So this aspiration is beyond the small linguistic unit that people used to talk about, but it is much more enlarging, and that's how identity formation in Northeast India is linked more towards socio-political factors than linguistic and cultural identity. And that is what I was trying to stress in my talk. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Please on your microphone, and you can directly ask me a question. Yeah. If you have.
Any questions, anyone? If not, we can wind up. Yansureni will be posting feedback form to go the chat box. So kindly fill that. Yeah, she has already done that.
Yeah.
If there's no questions, we can wind up the session.
Okay.
Yansureni, now.
Yeah. Thank you so much, sir.
Once again,
Yeah,
thank you
sure,
so
sure.
much, everyone, for listening to my talk, and I wish both Techo College and your department, that is College of Engineering and Technology, all the best of your success in future days. And once again, I also extend my thanks to all the participants for attentively attending my talk. I don't know how much I'm able to penetrate into your mind, but then this is just a beginning, and the entire notion of identity and language cannot be discussed in one talk kind of thing. So I thought about, because of the multidisciplinary nature of the talk attended by many allied subject, I thought I will make my talk general and not go into specific. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much, sir, for being with us today. We are really grateful to have you. And also to all the participants, also thank you for joining us yet in another session. I've already posted the feedback form. You can fill up that, and we still have like more sessions tomorrow and the day following. So please join us again for the remaining sessions as well. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you all. I will be sharing the content which Dattatreya ma'am told yesterday, a reading list. She has already sent it to us. I'll be posting it to you in our WhatsApp group. Thank you. I'll end the meet now.